The 13 postures starts feet together, toes together. All right, so it's a chance to bring everything, the awareness to the body, awareness of the breath. Find your vertical. Heels are together, toes are together. And then sit down on the right leg, bending that right knee, picking up the left knee, stepping to the left. So this would just take a slight step to the left, come to center, and then inhale, straighten the legs, and exhale, sitting down. So tucking in the hips, shoulders are relaxed. We're just sitting down in this nice seated low position. And then inhale, raise the arms, and exhale, we come down here to the basic posture. All right. So the beginning again, very simple. We start feet together, toes together, and sit down on the right leg, step to the left, come to center. Inhale, stand up, exhale, sit down. Inhale, raise the arms, exhale, settle into the basic posture. Okay? And I just noticed that what we're doing basically is we start from a unified body, right, the vertical, and then we separate right from left, and then we separate top from bottom. So increasing complexity of the awareness of the body. So again, we start feet together, toes together, breath is in the belly, and we sit down on the right leg, step to the left, come to center, inhale, straighten the legs, exhale, sit down, hips are tucked, inhale, raise the arms, exhale, settle into the basic posture. Now we're going to shift the weight to the right, bring the left toes so that they point to the diagonal, shift back to the left leg, and then turn. All right? So let's do that again. The idea is that our feet are always going to be pointing in a specific direction. So they're going to be front, back, side to side, or to the diagonal. So there's only 8 foot positions that you can have. So from the beginning when we're here, we shift the weight to the right leg to relieve the pressure on the left leg, so that now we can bring the left toes pivoting on the heel, bring the left toes so that they point to the left front diagonal, or pointing towards the right diagonal. The foot turns. Once the foot is in position, and then I shift back onto the left foot. But now all I want to do is basically bring the body, turning the body, so that the hips, knee and foot are aligned in the proper direction. So when I'm here, I'm going to sit and turn. I'm pivoting on the heel, on the toes of the right foot. So before, we're pivoting on the heel to bring the toes in, shift, and now we're going to pivot on the ball of the foot. So the heel is traveling, in this case for the right foot, right? So it's shift, bring the toes in, shift the weight, turn and pivot. And notice the hands are in front of the shoulders, so the hands are not moving at all. This is all done with the feet shifting, and here it's the hips. So now we've turned 90 degrees, right? We started here, we turn 90 degrees to the right. Shift, bring the toes, shift, turn. My hands are still in front of me. Now, from here I'm going to rise up and bring the hands and the foot, right hand and right foot, up and in. So, from the beginning, we were here, right, sitting down, hips are tucked. I shift to the right, bring the left toes in. Shift to the left, and then turn. As I turn, I'm sitting down, and then as I reach, now facing the right, I stand up on the left leg, bring the right hand and right toes in. My left hands are now palms facing each other like you're holding a ball. Sit down on that left foot, extend out the foot onto the heel of the foot, of the right foot, and then rise up, crossing the hands. So here, one thing that's important, I'm gonna roll up my pants so you can see. When I'm here, I turn, shift, hands and foot come up, right? So all my weight is on the left leg. I sit down, I step out onto the right heel, and I'm gonna roll the foot so that I'm now on the toes. My right heel picks up slightly. And the reason we do that is because the one thing we don't want is to shift the weight forward. So we don't want to turn, come here, step, and then shift forward. That's incorrect. What we want to do is rise up on that rear leg, right? And what we're doing is we're bracing ourselves with the front toes. So the front toe is actually there to push us backwards because the left foot is going up, or left leg is pushing us upwards, and the front foot is pushing us back. So it's not a shifting of the weight forward, it's a rising up. And notice what happens is the hips turn. Right? So as I rise up, my hips are turning, and that's that turning of the waist that turns the shoulder, and that's what propels the arm up. Right? So the stepping is here, step, and then we're going to spiral up, and the front toe is pushing us backwards as we spiral upwards. It is definitely not shifting forward. By the end of here, 70% of the weight is on the left leg, on the rear leg, 30% on the front. And that's a ratio we're going to keep coming back to, right? So we're here and we rise up. Here, rise up. Spiraling up, right? Spiraling up. And the arm simply floats up until by the end, you're here. The left hand, the fingers are pointing at the right wrist. The front arm creates an arc in front of you. So we were here, sit down, step out, rise up. Notice the left arm, or right arm, I mean, floats up. The left hand barely has to move. It was already basically in the same position because, right, we were here. If you just look at the left hand, you were basically here, step, boom. Left arm doesn't really have to do any work, so it can be nice and relaxed. Right arm is here, step in, and sweep up. Notice that what the right arm is doing is a big circle. Right. So you're doing both these things at once, and what you have is this, and this is called ward off. Pang, ward off. And you're here. Now, from here, we move on to the next move, which is grab the sparrow by the tail. So from here, right, we're here, we sit down, then we stand up and rotate the hands, and then come back to center. So it seems complicated, but so just remember in terms of orientation, I'm going in that direction, but I'm going to now face you to show you what the hands are actually doing. So from ward off here, I sit down and turn the hands. Then I rise up and circle the hands, and then I come back to center. So what you're really doing here is sitting down on that rear leg and turning the hips so that the body essentially turns so that it is now facing forward. Hips and shoulders are facing front. Right, so we were here. Notice hips and shoulders are to the diagonal, and all I'm going to do is sit down so that now hips and shoulders are facing front. There is no weight on the front foot. I can just pick it up, right? Because I was going from here, 70%, 30%, to here, 100% on that rear leg, right? And it's that sitting down on that rear leg that allows that front foot to pivot. Notice the ball of my pivoting on the ball of the foot, so the heel goes forward. I don't push it, I simply allow the foot to turn, which allows my hip to drop, right? So this is a nice relaxed leg, and I can just pick it up. There's no weight on it. If I don't let my hip or my heel turn, my hip can't settle, can't move backwards. That's why we turn, and we let it sink, right? So that's what the legs are doing. We're simply sitting down, and then we're just simply gonna rise back up. So we're sit down, rise up, sit down, rise up. That's it. The arms, from here, they turn in. This is where it looks like there's all this motion, but actually, all you're doing with the right arm, which is here, is you're turning the hand. It's literally it. But because the body is moving, the hand is moving through space. But you're not moving from the shoulder, you're simply moving the body. The hand is still in the same position relative to the body, right? So there's no movement in the shoulder. It's simply here, except that I'm going to turn my hand. right? So all I'm doing is this with the right arm, here, here. But because the body is moving, it looks like the arm is moving through space, which it is, but it's not coming from the shoulder, it's coming from the hips. The left hand, simply doing this, that's all. Palm was facing down, palm is now facing up, that's it. Now, notice that the one thing this doesn't do is it doesn't travel with the hand, with the body, I mean, right? If I was traveling with the body, my hand would be here. But what I want to do is keep my hand here, facing front. So now there's actually more motion in the left shoulder than there is in the right shoulder, because I'm going to travel this way. Now the palms are facing each other. So the left palm is in line with the front, the right palm travels back, and at the same time, the hands turn so that the palms are facing each other. And then when I'm here at the bottom of the sit, now I'm going to rise up and change all of that. Here to here, right? From here to here. And basically what you're doing here is you're rising up. And you rise up, the right hand drops and turn. The left hand rises up and circles. And so literally the left hand is just doing this. That's it. Left hand just does this. Boom. The right hand does this, right? Does this, and that's it. So what does all this mean? Well, when you're here, so grasp the sparrow's tail, right? Catch the tail of the sparrow, grasp the sparrow's tail. Imagine if there's a bird on your wrist, and you grab it, and then you throw it. So you're manhandling this poor bird, but there's a bird on your wrist, and you catch it, and then you throw it. That's what the right arm is doing. And the left arm is simply filling the space where the hand isn't, right? So if I'm here, my left hand is going to drop because my right hand is up top. My left hand is going to rise because my right hand is down below, right? So the hands are basically balancing each other out. But the right hand is catching and throwing. Catching and throwing. Catch, throw. So notice there's energy coming this way and then throwing that way. So it's a 90-degree change in the direction of the energy. Sitting back, pushing to the side. Sitting back, pushing to the side. It's a change of direction, right? Grasp the sparrow's tail. Boom. And then when we're here, we sit back to square, right? Because I rose up, right? Because we're here, sit down, rise up and throw. Sit down back to square. So now I'm 100% on that rear leg, sitting square, hips and shoulders are square. Hands essentially fall back in front, holding a ball. Then I rise up and I press. And press is here, which means that I create an arc with the arm and I'm hitting with the wrist, right? So I'm hitting with the wrist. The left hand falls so that the pinky is essentially aligned with the thumb, so that when the wrist is bent, the palm of the left hand is supporting the wrist of the right hand. All right, so we're here. So it's here, here, come back to center, rise up and press. So already here, we're going to take a look at this naming convention, right? Because we've already done actually 4 of the basic moves, but they haven't been necessarily named. The convention is that there's the 8 basic moves, and then there's groups of those 8 basic moves that are put together because they make an effective technique. So grasp the sparrow's tail is actually all of this, right? That together, so from the beginning, so when from here, so this is grasp the sparrow's tail. And it's made up of 4 of the basic moves. This, so when we're here, this is roll back, ward off, roll back, push, and press. So ward off, roll back, push, press. These are 4 qualities of energy. Those are the 4 major ones. And this is where you see where the 13 postures is an introduction to all the ideas, all the concepts that we have in Tai Chi. And so these 4 movements, so ward off, roll back, push, and press are the 4 main moves that we have. The thing to remember is that they're qualities of energy. Right? So it's not a technique, it's a quality. So ward off here, so the first move that we saw here, ward off is a deflection, but you're pushing, it's like warding off. You're brushing something out of the way. It's not a hit. Something is pushing against you and you push it back, right? So it's not an attack, it's a deflection, it's a defense, but you're moving something out of the way. You're moving something out of the way. That's ward off. Roll back is this. Roll back here. It's an absorption. So it's also a deflection. It's a defensive move, but something comes towards you and you deflect it. Notice that what you're doing is you're moving in the same direction as the energy. So something comes towards you, you go in the same direction and you deflect it. So now it misses you and going slightly over there. So whereas ward off, you're pushing it out of the way. Roll back, you're deflecting it. You're absorbing the energy and redirecting it. So it's much more gentle. It's yin instead of yang in energy. Push is exactly what it sounds like. Push is pushing. Straight line of force. We're projecting energy. It can be in any direction. So in this case, we're pushing sideways. So push is anytime you throw energy out, essentially. And we'll see later on that push is essentially any time you hit. So a push can be in any direction, and it can be with open palm, it can be a punch, it can also be a knee, it can be a foot. So if I were to kick somebody, that's push energy, an in Chinese, push energy, right? Any kind of linear, straight attack is a push. So from the beginning, we were here, rise up, sit down, ward off, roll back, push, and now press. Press is also an attack, but instead of being linear and piercing, press is short and heavy. Press is when you don't have the space to draw back and hit. You're here and you go, and you expand like a puffer fish. And that's the idea you should have in your head, right? So I am actually sitting down and going, I'm planting myself on the ground as I press. And press, like a puffer fish, is expressed as a circle and almost goes in every direction. So if somebody was to like give me a bear hug and I could go here and I'm pushing back with my back or my shoulders or my arms. So it's not necessarily expressed just here at the point of contact. It's here. That's press, right? It's a short and heavy projection of energy, like a puffer fish. We're very close and you're not trying to pierce like a push, you're trying to expand and push away. So it's still an attack, but it's a much shorter, heavier, rounder attack as opposed to a push, which is linear, straight line, right? Piercing. So those are your 4 main types of energy, and notice that they're at the very beginning of the 13 postures. That's our introduction. This is learning the grammar that we're going to be using later on in the form. So again, from the beginning, so from here, bringing the toes in, shift, turn, draw in, sit down, ward off, roll back, push, press. And now we're going to drop the right elbow, bring the hands in, turn the right hand over, shift the weight, strike with the left palm. Notice I brought my foot in. It's called seal it closed. So seal it closed is the name of that whole combination. So from press, it's dropping the elbow, all right? So the right elbow drops, hands come in, right hand turns over, and then I'm going to shift the weight forward, bring the toes in. And as I bring the toes in, notice what it does is it brings my hips forward, right? So now my hips are square and pointing forward. As my hip goes forward, my shoulder also moves forward. So that's what's going to power the strike, right? It's the actual stepping. It's not the arm shooting out, it's actually just stepping forward. So I'm here, turn, boom, right? Dropping the elbow, turn the hand, strike. So from the beginning, we were here, toes in, turn, stand up, sit down, step out, ward off, roll back, push, press, drop the elbow, bring the hand in, turn the right hand over, push. Or this is a palm strike, right? Notice that this move here, right? So this is somebody's pushing against you, and you just drop the elbow so they go that way. This is roll back. Then you turn and you push, right? So this is controlling. Somebody's coming at you, pushing against you, you draw back and you control the arm. Here, here. So this is roll back, ward off, push, roll back, ward off, push, right? So we were going in this direction, right? Because we started facing this way, we turn 90 degrees to face to the right cardinal. So make it clear. From here, bring the left toes, shift, turn, sit down, ward off, roll back, push, press. Drop the right elbow, bring the hands in, turn the right hand over, shift the weight, right? I'm shifting the weight into the right foot, turn, bring the left toes in, strike with the left palm. And notice that my left toe, I am not stepping forward. My left toes are basically behind my right heel. All right, so just boom, here. If you go too far forward, now you're unbalanced. It's here, and you can feel that you can be nice and solid. You're sitting on the right leg, so 70% of the weight is on the right leg this time, 30% on the left, and you're hitting with the left hand. And from this position, we shift back, right? So this is again why you want to make sure that when you step, your foot is not too far forward or too far back. You bring the foot, and then you step back, right? So the weight is on the front leg, and then boom, weight is on the rear leg. And the rear leg is pointed to the diagonal. So from here to here, here to here, boom. So from press, drop the right elbow, bring the hand slightly in, turn the right hand over so both palms are facing down, step forward, turn the hips, strike with the left palm. Notice my right hands are basically touching my left elbow. Then from here, sit back. So now fallen back onto my left foot. Cross the hands, drop the elbows, bring the heel down, roll up, and push. It's a push, right? Notice that when we're here, boom, roll back, push. So we've seen the multiple expression of those 4 basic moves so far, all in different directions, but they're all the same. So this is rollback. This is rollback, because notice they all have the same quality. They look very different, but they're actually the same expression of energy, the same quality of energy. So let's take a look again. So if we did press, we drop the right elbow, we bring the hands in slightly, we're sitting down on the left leg, then we turn the right hand over, shift the weight onto the right leg, bring the left toes in, strike with the left palm. Then we shift back onto the left foot. The hands stay in contact, the elbow folds, so now my arms are along the horizontal, and then I drop the elbows so that my arms are now vertical. And then I step out and push. So this move here, right? What's important is that you don't push out of the side, right? The forearms are basically vertical. So you go from horizontal to vertical, horizontal to vertical. And that's enough so that if somebody were to push you, give you a push with 2 hands, you'd catch and open. So now you're inside of your opponent's hands, and then you rise up and you push. And again, the rise up is Foot is on the heel, roll onto the toes, and now the toes are pushing you back. So when you're pushing here forward, your front foot is actually pushing you backwards, because again, you don't want to shift the weight forward. You want to keep the weight on the rear leg 70%, 30% as you push. And what that does, it means that as you rise up and you push, you're using the power of the left leg to rise up, and that's what's providing the power. It's not the hands, it's not shifting forward, it's the muscles of the rear leg that are pushing you up, right? And that's where the power comes from the leg, not the hands, not shifting forward, but from rising up. It's right here, it's that leg rising up, and the energy of the leg then is transmitted through the body into the hands. So it's not the hands pushing, it's actually the leg that's pushing. And you see that if I were to just shift the weight forward, there's now no muscle engaged. This is just me leaning forward, but I don't have any muscles pushing, right? It's just my weight against my opponent. And this leg is just working to hold me up. Whereas if I'm here, my left thigh is engaged. I'm using the muscle in the left leg to push, right, to provide the power. And all my arms have to do is essentially keep roughly the same shape, and that's where the power is. And that's why this front leg is not the leg that we sit on. That front leg is there to keep us from moving forward, right? So we're rising up. The energy goes up, and then the shoulder transmit it horizontally. So there's vertical motion transformed into horizontal motion through the shoulders and the arms. That's the trick, that's the secret. If we go from the beginning, we start again that vertical line through the body. Breath is in the belly. And we sit down, and we step to the side, come to center. And we sit, hips are tucked, and we raise the arms. And we sit in the basic posture. Shift, bring the left toes to the diagonal. Turn, right hand, right foot come up. Come in as we step up, and then sit down, step out onto the right foot, ward off, sit down, open the hands, stand up, circle the hands, come back to center, and then rise up and press. Then drop the right elbow, bring the hands in, turn the right hand over, shift the weight, step in, strike with the left palm. Shift back, cross the hands, drop the elbows, step out, rise up and push. Okay? And that's essentially it. Because after that, all we do is we turn. So we were here, we sit down on the left leg, turn, bring now my right foot to the other diagonal, shift, turn, and now we do the same exact thing, but on the other side. All right, so now the left arm is leading, but we're doing is essentially the same thing. And then we come here, and then we turn, and we do the same thing again, this time facing front. But again, the same exact thing. So here now my right arm is leading. And back, and push. And then we turn again, facing the rear. And now my left arm is leading, but we're doing exactly the same thing. Okay? So the first segment of the 13 postures is repeated 4 times in 4 directions. So if we start facing front, we turn to the right, and then we turn 180 degree to the left, and then we turn 90 degree to face front, and then we turn 180 degrees to face the rear. Okay? So it's 90, 180, 90, 180. Pretty simple pattern, right? So you just want to keep that in mind, right? 90, 180, 90, 180.